Okay, imagine a company where every single decision, I mean every decision, from the smallest project to the biggest investment is based on cold, hard, verifiable data. Sounds like a fantasy, right? Well, that's the promise of the HRM0NI Standard from a company called Go Hard Unlimited Enterprises. It's a really fascinating and honestly pretty radical approach to one of the biggest challenges in corporate life, getting numbers you can actually trust. So let's dive in and see how they do it.
And this, right here, is the unshakable foundation the entire system is built on. This isn't just a suggestion or some corporate guideline, it is a mandate, a law, coming from the very top. The principle is so simple, but it's also incredibly profound. If a number can't be proven, if you can't audit it, then for all intents and purposes, it just doesn't exist. It has zero weight in any important conversation, period.
So that begs the question, right? Why is getting reliable data so hard in the first place? Well, the answer really just boils down to human nature. I mean, think about it. When you've got dozens of teams all competing for the same limited pool of resources and recognition, there is a huge incentive to make your own work seem as important as humanly possible. And that can lead to some very creative interpretations of data.
Yeah, this whole phenomenon is known as gaming the system, and it is the root cause of most unreliable corporate data. The HRM0NI Standard was designed from the ground up specifically to counteract this. It creates this framework of checks and balances where trying to manipulate the numbers just isn't a winning strategy anymore. And this gaming can take a whole bunch of different forms. You've got value inflation, that's like a team claiming their project is going to change the world, when really it's just a minor tweak. Or function splitting, where one task gets broken into 5 smaller ones just to make it look like the team's output is 5 times bigger. Some will even invent synthetic dependencies to make their system seem crucial to everyone else, or just run scripts to generate fake activity to juice their usage metrics. It gets pretty wild.
So the solution in the HRM0NI Standard is to just fundamentally change the game. It shifts the focus away from metrics that make an individual team look good, and instead it cares about one thing and one thing only. What is the measurable, verifiable value being delivered to the entire company? It's a pretty simple shift in perspective, but it has absolutely massive implications.
Okay, so how does the system actually pull this off? Well, it all comes down to quantifying 2 core opposing concepts for every single thing the company does. We're talking about its energy, which is its total cost, and its value, which is its total contribution. Let's take a closer look at how they actually measure these.
So on one side, you have the energy index. This basically measures the total cost of running something. Everything from the electricity it uses to the engineering effort it takes to keep it alive. And then, on the other side, you've got business value, which quantifies the actual provable worth that thing provides back to the company. It's cost versus worth.
So let's start with the energy index. This is a pretty sophisticated metric that goes way beyond just looking at a utility bill. It calculates a function's total cost of ownership and spits out what's called a normalized score. That's just a fancy way of saying it creates a common scale, so you can fairly compare the cost of a massive data processing job to, say, a tiny little button on a web page.
And this score is actually a composite of 3 key factors. First, it looks at activity. How often does a function get used? Then it looks at intensity. How many resources does it chew up each time it runs? And finally, its structural criticality. How essential is it to the company's entire technical architecture? This gives you a really complete picture of its total drain on resources.
All right, now let's flip to the other side and talk about business value. This is not some fuzzy, subjective metric. Nope. It is a hard, quantifiable score that absolutely must be backed up by verifiable evidence. And to make sure there's no ambiguity, the system defines value across 4 distinct and measurable categories.
And the weighting of these categories, it tells you everything you need to know about the company's priorities. Direct revenue generation is valued the most, you can see that, followed pretty closely by proven cost savings. After that, you've got risk reduction, so things like improving security or compliance. And finally, you've got alignment with broader strategic goals. The message is crystal clear. Concrete financial impact is what really matters here.
Now, the real power, the magic of the HRM0NI Standard, is how it combines these 2 metrics, the total cost and the total value, into a single decisive number. And that number is called the efficiency score.
The score itself is a super simple but incredibly powerful ratio. It's just business value divided by the energy index. And what it tells you at a single glance is whether a function is creating more value than it consumes. It's a ruthless but incredibly clear tool for making data-driven decisions about where to put your resources and where to pull back.
And here's the kicker.
The efficiency score isn't just a number to look at. It's a direct call to action. The system has these clear, non-negotiable guidelines for every score. A high score means a function is a star performer that you should be trying to replicate everywhere. A really low score, say below 0.3, that means it's on the chopping block. It has to be optimized immediately or it gets shut down. No argument.
But I know what you're thinking. How can anyone be sure these numbers for value and energy are actually real? How do you stop people from just gaming this system? Well, that's where the final and maybe the most important piece comes in: a relentless and super rigorous audit process. This audit process is designed to be both comprehensive and continuous. I mean, you've got automated spot checks happening every single week. Then there are full reviews of all functions every quarter, and a massive deep dive audit and recalibration once a year. This constant scrutiny basically ensures the data is always fresh and always accurate.
And this process isn't just for show. Oh no, there are very real consequences for failure. If a team can't provide the evidence for its business value claims, that score immediately gets reset to 0. And if they find confirmed intentional manipulation of the numbers, that can lead to formal disciplinary action. Everyone has a massive incentive to take this whole thing very, very seriously.
This one single rule is the bedrock of the entire standard. It's what gives the whole system its integrity and its power. It guarantees that no major decision can be made using stale or unverified data. It forces every strategic choice to be based on a foundation of proven, auditable fact.
So, what if this wasn't just about one company? I mean, just imagine for a second a world where every organization, from tiny startups to massive governments, had a system this rigorous for measuring the true value of their actions against their true cost. What would change? What kind of decisions would be different? What new possibilities might open up? You know, the HRM0NI standard might just be a glimpse into the future of how we measure what truly matters.